Now, this conference is a golden opportunity, I believe, to learn, to question, to challenge yourselves, and to work hard on issues that affect us all. And most of all, I want you to be inspired to take action. Because at the end of the day, you are the backbone of the education systems across this province. The schools, the colleges, technical institutions, and universities rely upon you and your professionalism to support students and faculty alike every single day. And without your brain and muscle and your dedication, not a single wheel would turn at your work site. So never forget that, how important you are.
I mean, it raises a fundamental question, and that is, why would we, if there's such an important long-term economic payoff of a college or university degree, why would we ramp up user fees as much as possible at the front end? If they're going to be paying more taxes after, are they not already paying their fair share?
But we do see a certain paradox almost, and I believe someone said before it was a systemic issue in the provincial government, but we're projecting we'll be short, and I've heard different variations of the stat, but close to this, 77,000 workers by 2019, and it's a huge percentage of these workers that will require some sort of post-secondary education. Yet at the same time, we see the province every year investing lower and lower percentages into PSC, which means, again, the costs are passed off onto students, which makes education less attractive, less affordable, less accessible every year.
The first thing that we need to do, and it's so important, is to immediately freeze our tuition fee rates here in the province of Alberta. And we can take a great deal of inspiration, I think, from what's been happening in Quebec over these last 110 or 120 days to see what's possible for us when we apply pressure to look for more reasonable tuition fees and better conditions in our post-secondary institutions. First
of all, Quebec has a history, right? This is certainly the largest and the longest student strike, but we've actually, this is number 8 since the 1960s. So there's a history of that. There's a legitimacy to that that's already been established, that's defined, and it's a tactic that works.
Once you have one increase, the next one becomes easier, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. That's happened in Ontario and Nova Scotia and most provinces. You increase and you increase and you increase, and when you increase over time, it just becomes a fact of life, and you just kind of go, oh, another increase, that's fine. But the shock in Quebec is that this increase was so big and so sudden, and I think if students really succeed in blocking the hike, then it sets a tone. It sets a tone that they can keep doing it.
Quebec has the largest percentage of unionized employees in North America. The labor movement is strong there, and they're sort of complementary social forces. So I think that the larger labor federations, CSN, FTQ, have always needed an alliance with students, and students have always needed their alliance with them, because fundamentally we're challenging the same issues, right? One of the biggest problems is that things like access to education aren't really questions of underfunding as much as they're a question of priority and good management, which is something that I think we're sorely lacking right now in most Canadian institutions. And so it's a question of who's winning when things get cut, right? And it's certainly not students, it's not workers, it's not support staff, it's not teachers. So there's a common front, there's a shared goal, and that's where it lies. And it's powerful, it's effective, and it turns into a pretty scary force to the government, especially when students organize and the labor unions come out and back them.
There's a big piece with AUPE in our mobilization. I think this really fits into what we do as a union and with union members, and I think that the post-secondary needs to really mobilize our workers. We do have a baby boomer generation within the post-secondary where there needs to be an emphasis working with some of those younger members or those members that are not involved in the union, so that we can really make sure that we're challenging the government and having those discussions with the government to make things better in post-secondary and K-12. And that's why we're here today, is to make sure that we're continually working with our members.